With over 33 years in the mobile bartending and service industry, he is the guy who brings the party and the joy wherever he goes.
She's a seasoned event planner and producer with more than 20 years of experience in sports, corporate, nonprofit, and private events, and she's here to keep things running smoothly.
Together, we are hot mics, cold drinks, and untold disasters of the wild, hilarious, and unforgettable moments in the world of events. This is the EventTalk Podcast with Dave and Rachel. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the EventTalk Podcast, hot mics, cold drinks, and untold disasters. We're super excited for not only one, but two guests today for a two-part series. We have the Johnson family, Eddie Johnson, NBA alumni, and Joy Johnson, his beautiful wife. They're going to pop up here on screen. I'll give a little background. I'll start with Eddie because he's not the main focus of this podcast. I know, rare for you, Eddie. It's okay. But Eddie is NBA alumni, currently on Sirius XM that you see him behind the NBA radio. You have your own podcast as well, Eddie, and then also he does the color for the Phoenix Suns broadcast team. 17-year career in the NBA, multiple teams, but you also got your BA in history from Chicago, so he definitely attends a lot of Joy's events. His beautiful wife, Joy Johnson, I've worked with a number of years, 23 years plus in the business. It says 250 events here, but I know it's more than that. Especially this year, you're going all over the place. Winning awards from Trends Magazine, Positively Powerful Woman, amazing. She does everything from golf tournaments to galas to amazing birthday parties. So the focus here today, obviously, is Joy Johnson. I like to call it she plans, he attends. So thank you guys so much for joining Dave and myself today. We're excited to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Perfect. So we are going to just jump right in. I know there's a lot of great stories that both of you have to share, not only in your individual careers, but together. And then I've actually worked with you guys, almost 15 years, I feel like now. Definitely over 10. I know, it's crazy. And then we have Eddie Johnson and friends that we do together, benefiting a charity, Helping Hands for Single Moms, that Eddie is the face of, but Joy is the behind-the-scenes planner, like us, on the mics and headphones in the back, calling the show. So it's been fun to kind of work with you guys over the years. But Joy, kind of what inspired you to kind of get into event planning? I know you traveled a lot when Eddie was playing and lived in lots of different cities and couldn't really settle down necessarily in one spot. But I feel like, since you guys are here now, you kind of settled down. Like, what inspired you to get into events?
Well, that's a great question to start with, because the absolute true answer for that is that man right there, my husband. True enough, I did follow him around to many NBA cities, and it seemed like every time we landed in a city, I was at the helm of their NBA wives or their team wives organization planning events. And so as a result of that, I realized for me, it was just fulfilling to be able to plan events for the local organization that they were aligned with and raising money for, and just to be able to plan these wonderful events. And the money was raised and obviously contributed to these worthwhile organizations. That was fulfilling for me. Didn't make any money. It was just philanthropic work. And it was my husband, actually, who saw that I was good at what I was doing and said to me, you're really good at this. You need to start your own business. And I thought, who's going to pay me to plan events when they can do it themselves? And so I was very skeptical of the idea. Then I became president of our NBA Wives National Organization in 1999. So planned lots of all-star events all over the country. And it was for the same reason, planning events. And we would choose an organization in every all-star city, and we would donate the monies to. And after our All-Star Weekend in 2001, we had just come back from Washington, D.C. Eddie ran into a gentleman who was the vice president of a local organization, the Greater Phoenix Black Chamber of Commerce. He had seen me being interviewed on BET, and he asked Eddie, I saw Joy being interviewed during All-Star. Does she plan events in Phoenix? And he goes, oh yeah, she does. And he came home and he said, I got you an interview for an event planning job to make money. And I'm like, what? I didn't have a name, a bank account, an LLC, but went to the interview nonetheless, got the contract, and a Joyce event began. So I had an event before I had a bank account.
There you
So
go.
that's man. And answer your question, that was a long answer. But
No, I
Eddie
like
Johnson
it.
is the reason that I am where I am now. He saw something in me that I didn't see in myself.
And I forgot to mention it earlier. Yes, your company is a joyous event. I didn't even introduce that. Obviously, your name's Joy.
I just talked to her on the phone all these years, or the internet. That's all I got.
Yes, luckily, Joy has hired Dave and
Many
Poor
times, yeah.
Masters. So
Many
officially
times.
meeting
Many
face to
times.
face.
It's actually interesting now. Now it's all coming too. So you get to this age, and I'm like, oh, now I see where this went. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yes,
We appreciate it.
you are my go-to.
Yeah, we were at that All-Star game. We told the story last time of a company coming in from California that I think it was on the first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was scary.
Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. Okay, so what, Joy, kind of stands out as your favorite event? I mean, obviously, you've done events for, Emmett Smith and Rodney Peets, P-E-E-T. Pete, there we go. Patrick Peterson, I think I worked with you on one of those. What kind of stands out as some of the more favorable events that you've planned? And then I'm going to turn it over to you, Eddie. Of the ones she's planned, what has been your most favorite to attend? And so we'll start with Joy and then jump over to Eddie, just giving you a heads up.
Okay, so probably my most favorite event was one that we pulled together in 3 weeks. And it's a sad story. I had a girlfriend who was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2011, and she wrote a play during her journey fighting breast cancer. And in 2013, when she learned that she was terminal, a group of us got together and decided to produce the play. We got Cox Communications on board. She's a good friend of mine. She was one of the big wigs over there at Cox, and she funded the project, and we were able to show this play or produce this play, bring actors in and produce this play for my girlfriend and her family and friends to come and see 3 weeks before she passed away. So I would say, and I'm getting emotional, I'm sorry. That was probably my most favorite because the play was excellent, and she got to see it realized on stage before, she passed away. So that's a sad one. Probably my most favorite, though. My God, I've done so many.
250 plus.
Yeah, I mean the ones where we get to honor people like Muhammad Ali, and during All-Star Weekend in Philadelphia, and he was wonderful. Or Hank Aaron, or I get to meet all these Janet Jackson in LA during All-Star Weekend was a great event. I would say locally, probably the one where I co-produced 48 Women of Arizona. And Rachel, you're familiar with that, where Dave, we highlighted the accomplishments or the contributions of 48 women in our state who have made impactful contributions to our state. And like our current governor, Katie Hobbs. And we've done a coffee table book. And I was able to do an exhibit in the Arizona Historical Society Museum. That's probably my most favorite. I got to meet all these wonderful women, learn what they're doing in the state in which I live. So I would say probably that one.
That sounds fun. Any good things behind the scenes that you can tell us?
Oh, behind the scenes. I mean, I've got plenty of stories about brides who, happen to look out and see that their father is not sitting where he should be. Or, I mean,
these are the fun ones, right? We talked about us. One of our trucks on the way, right, catches fire, right? And nobody knows about those things.
Or you plan for an outdoor event and the weather is beautiful. I mean, it's, we're in Arizona, so, typically the weather is beautiful. Then all of a sudden a dust storm comes up.
Right.
We did this with this beautiful home over in Fountain Hills, and just great views. And we set up so beautifully outside. And then out of nowhere, a dust storm comes up, and my girls are grabbing food, and tablecloths are being whipped, and flower bouquets are being knocked down. And then as quickly as it started, it ended. And thank God it ended like maybe a half hour before our guests were set to arrive. So then we're running around all crazily trying to put things back in place. And the rest of the day was beautiful. But then I sat there and thought, God, why? Why do we have to deal with that 30 minutes before our guests arrived? But it all worked out beautifully. So.
Right. The client always doesn't see that, right? And you turned out perfect.
Well, that client did. That client was freaking out. They were running around the house trying to help us get everything inside. So
that's funny.
Eddie, do you have a memorable either event of Joy's or one that you kind of been to over the years?
Well, all of them are great to me because if it's a success, then I know she's going to be happy. and that's the most important thing. But my favorites, I'm a groupie. I truly am. And when I'm around people that I've watched, whether on TV or in sports, I kind of gravitate to them. And so the ones that she mentioned, the Hank Aaron, when he was at the event, Janet, uh, Morgan Freeman,
Oh, that'd be a good one.
spoke at an event before. But yeah, my favorite obviously was Muhammad because I was able to sit at the table with him next to him. And the amazing thing about that opportunity was I was thinking, okay, well, I know he's, having a tough time speaking. He doesn't say much or what have you. And I'm telling you, like, it was without any hesitation. It was thorough. Like, when he was talking to me, I didn't see any of that and he was in front of a camera, at that present time of his life. And it was just simply amazing to me in a relaxed atmosphere. I mean, I got the true Muhammad Ali. He was talking junk and he was laughing. And so to me, that is probably the best event that I have been to because I consider him the greatest of all time of any athlete and somebody that I looked up to growing up as a young man. So it had to be that event.
Yeah, it's always fun. I feel like, especially when you're more behind the scenes in events, you see a different part of people than you would,
Right.
Out in the public. And so when you get to see, whether it's behind the scenes before they go on stage and they're nervous and you don't usually see that because they're on stage all the time, or, knowing their quirks of their favorite things, like what they might want to drink or a snack or something like that, it's just kind of like a behind the scenes of the individual person as well, which I think, especially when you're working with like the celebrity world, is very memorable.
Yeah, they're normal people. I don't think the general understands.
Of course.
They're good people, and they have wives and they have kids, and everybody gets yelled at, right? We all get yelled at by our wives.
Exactly.
It's typical.
That's it. Later on in the podcast, we're going to talk about the voluntold, what Eddie gets voluntold to do quite often, but not quite yet. So going into planning great events, Joy, what are things that people don't really realize, when putting on an event, or maybe something that happened between you kind of doing the events for free for NBA Wives Group to like running your own business? Like, what are things that most people just don't realize about running an event business, kind of things that happen in an event world? I mean, I know you had 2 events, I feel like, this weekend, and then Eddie's been on the road and just got back. It's a lot of crazy things. It's not just like we put on pretty things and our lives are just this amazing thing. We have the dust storms that come in and the clothes that are a disaster, and then we have to go and be on stage 5 minutes later. Stuff like that happens all the time. But what do you kind of hear and see or remember?
Well, I think, Rachel, you'll probably agree with me that table assignments and seating are the worst in event planning.
They are.
And I am dealing with that right now. I actually have an event this Friday. A pastor, a very, very popular and well-known pastor in our community, is retiring after 48 years of service at this one church.
Wow.
And having to deal with his governance council and the chairperson, this committee and that committee. I mean, I have to jump through so many hoops in order to get a lot of things accomplished that normally would just be accomplished by, the client that hires me. But table seating right now we have 677 people coming to this event.
Wow.
I have received 327 names. And what people don't realize, because I'll be at the forefront, and my, team will be at the forefront on Friday night when it's registration, is that the names did not come to me. They came to the client. And so, but when people show up and they're not at the proper seat, who are they going to look at as it being incorrectly done? They're going to look at me. So, sometimes we have to take the hit for things like that. It's not truly our hit to take, but we do. So I think people don't realize that. And then also in planning, when you have so many entities that you have to bounce ideas off of or get decisions made by. And sometimes I have to override those decisions. I know that there have been clients where they have a certain vision that they pitch to me, but when I tell them how much it's going to cost, they back down off that vision. And so they come up with something, they give me a budget, but I can't really do what they really want for that budget. And so sometimes I have to override them and say, look, go find more money if this is really what you want to do. because you're going to be disappointed, and your guests are going to be disappointed when they walk in the room and see that they have spent X, Y, Z, and this is what they've come to. And so obviously people don't realize that we really have to, in order, and sometimes it's in order to kind of make sure that our brand is not distorted in the community too. I'm grateful that at this point, a Joyce event has a brand, and people come to me and say, oh, I know that you do these great events and this, that, and the other. But if they come to me and say that they want, champagne on a beer budget, I have to be honest with them. So
that's very true.
We get a lot of those.
Eddie, do you have anything that you see Joy kind of go through all the time that you're just like, yeah, nobody knows this behind the scenes, and what you visualize of your wife and see her go through, every week, event season, stuff like that?
Oh, no, she's just perfect. I mean, just no stress.
I was just complaining to him this morning, and I know he didn't want. I know he didn't want to hear it. He had just come in off a flight, and I was pretty much just saying this, complaining. And I'm like, honey, I'm sorry. I know you want to take a little nap. I know you don't want to hear this.
No. I mean, she strives for perfection, and I think a lot of people do that because they're going to be judged. And think about it. I mean, just one person coming to an event can walk up to you and say, oh, I didn't like it, or complain, and it can overcome the other 200-300 people that's in the room. So
Right.
You're always trying to strive for perfection. I mean, that's been my whole life, being judged no matter what, and so you have to get used to it. I just kept reminding her of that, and when she started doing this, that everyone is not going to like what you do. Everyone is, it's no perfection in anything, and they're going to find the littlest thing because they're going to show up looking. And, that's why they have polls. That's why, when polls come out, or somebody wins an election or what have you, it's always going to be a close, where 48% don't like you and 52% love you. I mean, it's just the way it is. And you just have to go about your business and just do what's best for you. And she strives for perfection. She truly does. She works extremely hard. She's hands-on. I wish she kind of back off a little bit with the hands-on. But
you got to do the same, though, traveling, Eddie.
Right.
if you do, she does.
But she wants it to be perfect. And, it's just no perfection in anything. But when you strive for perfection, even if you come up a little short, it's great. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I'm proud of her, and that, she attacks everything from a professional standpoint, regardless how big the event is. It does not matter. She strives for perfection, and I'm proud of her for that, because that's the way you have to approach things.
Definitely.
Aww.
There's a little kiss hug after this podcast between you guys.
We'll do a marriage podcast next.
I love it. Well, and it's so funny too, because I have had Joy on the Event Talk, or actually in person at the Event Talk, talking about clients and retention of clients. And I think, Eddie, you led this in great. Joy is one of the best in the industry to not only host an event for the Lynx or somebody along those lines, and then get multiple clients, post that, and then retain them. That's very rare in the event space, depending on what industry you are in. And Joy, you've become a joyous perfection at that. People love working with you. You have created this brand in the industry. I always see, yes, you do the white parties and the black parties and the, solid red parties, all of that, where they're just all wearing the same clothes. But you create these bright, vibrant events, unlike most event planners that are very monotoned. And I think that's so important. Not only do you, stick with what your clients, want, but you bring your own flair to it. And she's always she's tall. I mean, she's, very tall, but she always wears those 4-inch heels. And I'm like, girl, how do you do that? So, but yes, no, definitely. Okay, so what advice would you have for people kind of starting in the event industry, Joy? And then Eddie, kind of on the side, thinking what you see Joy go through, telling other people, hey, just, take a chance to breathe, or something along those lines. So Joy, I'll start with you. What advice would you have for people, in the event industry or striving to be in the event industry?
I would say to truly make sure that it's your passion, because you are a servant leader. You may lead the charge in terms of the advice that you give, the vendors that you procure on behalf of the event, but really have a passion for what you do, because, there are going to be times when you're going to be told what to do and you might not like it, but you still have to, as Eddie says, strive for perfection. and forge ahead boldly in spite of. Um, for me, I'm just so grateful that I have passion for what I do, and that my passion, I think it aligns with my purpose. I really do love the fact that I'm able to bring clients' vision to life, and that and in hopes of creating, fantastic memories that they'll have for the rest of their life. So I would say make sure that you do indeed have a passion for event planning, because it's not easy. And I'll go back to what I said earlier regarding Eddie encouraging me to start my own business, and me thinking, why would anybody pay me to do this when you can do it, you can do it themselves? But it really is a task. And we know that. We know the long hours that we put in, all the little details that have to be managed and executed, and all the people that we have to deal with, and making sure that we have vendors that are tried and true, and that are going to truly show up and have your best interests at heart. So I would say really make sure that you have a passion for this, because it's not everybody comes to the event and it's just, the room is beautiful, the music is playing beautifully, and the food is good, and everything looks like it's just, just like you just snapped your fingers. Oh my God, it's a process. And so make sure that you are indeed willing to put in the work to make sure that the process actually ends up with a good end result.
Yeah. Don't you think most people think it takes you a week to do this? Like, no big deal.
Oh God. Right? Yeah.
When you need 6 months, 8 months to do these types of events, and they think we just snap our fingers and it just pops up.
Exactly. And I do appreciate people like this latest client, although it's been very challenging. They have said to me a few times, we are so grateful that we have you to, we know that there are a lot of little idiosyncrasies you have to deal with, but we're so grateful that you have grace in all that you're doing to help us, because this is a lot. And they might have a certain facet of it, but at the end of the day, I have to manage the whole thing on Friday when it comes together.
There's little pieces that people don't understand, right? Just tiny little things that they would forget that could cause the whole event to go sideways.
Exactly. And especially when you're dealing with, oh my God, I mean, you're doing a podcast, so audio visual can mess you up sometimes. We know that, right? Technology is wonderful until it isn't, when something doesn't work. And so having to just manage even technology and tech rehearsals, and making sure all the videos and PowerPoint and everything is outlined. I mean, when I get to the event on Friday, I will be not only obviously the manager of the event in terms of everything from conception to completion, but also I'm going to act as director. Like my husband said, I'm type A. I do not trust AV to follow my script. I'm going to be right there back with them, telling them when that video needs to hit the screen. And I should have gone into TV. That's what I should have done.
I know.
That's more fun. But so I would say, back to your question, I know I'm rambling. Make sure that you have a passion for all the little details that have to be put in place in order to pull off a joyous event.
There you go. Well, and she mentioned too, working with good vendors. And didn't she say earlier, Pour Masters is one of her great vendors that always is reliable?
Number one.
There you go.
No, thank you. We started before you were born, Joy.
How long have you been around?
33 years. We were the first bar service in Arizona.
Wow.
Yellow Pages. First one in the yellow. Remember the Yellow Pages? Yeah, the first one.
No, I don't. But that's
see?
Remind me.
There were booster seats in cars for kids, right?
I had a 3x5 card system when you called me on the phone. And one time I forgot to ask your phone number. Not yours, but someone else. And I hung up the phone and went, what the hell do I do now, right? Like, I have no clue on getting this person back. It was bad. That's how old I am.
What I love about your company too, David, speaking of giving you your kudos, is just that, for example, I mean, I've had small events in offices. Your people show up, bring the small bar, work beautifully. Large events, I know you, I mean, so you're able to obviously modify or curtail to whatever I need. So I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Eddie, do you have any advice for kind of people starting off in the event industry, not only going to Joy's events, but you obviously attend lots of events, and now you kind of are a host in a sense of events, or a speaker, a public speaker, inspirational speaker at events. Do you have kind of any advice for people kind of getting into the space?
Well, I mean, just understand that it's not the result, right? So I'll just use myself as an example. Some people might see me and they see that I'm 6'8". When I play basketball, they'd say, okay, he can shoot, or he can play in the NBA. But they think, just because I'm tall, I just got to the NBA. That doesn't work that way. I mean, I put my whole life into this, right? All the little details, getting up, practicing, eating right, making sure that I did all the necessary things, have good conduct, all of that, to be able to put myself in a space and a place to be able to be seen and then be successful in doing it for a long period of time, right? So you always have to pay attention to the details. And the unfortunate thing is they don't see the details. They don't see those. Like they only see the result. So when they walk into a joyous event, they're just going to see the result of it, and then they might expect if they want to do an event that she should be able to get this done quickly because look at this. But they don't understand all the nuances that go behind, what she does, and you can't explain it to them because they don't have time for that. They just want the event, right? And so, it becomes a frustration for you because they don't understand, right? If they don't have all the names in on a certain time, they still believe it's okay. You'll still make it work, but they don't understand all the nuances that go into planning an event. I didn't initially until now. Obviously, I do know because I'm around her, but at that point in time, I looked at it differently as well. And we've had our little arguments in regards to my event in that space. So I get it. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate in every walk of life, though. That's just how it is. People have expectations, but they don't really experience your journey to reach their expectations, and that's the tough part.
Well, and too, when I go into like planning things, and this is kind of what I mentioned, is always plan for the worst, because if that worst happens, you have X, Y, Z as the plan. I say X, Y, Z because you don't want it to happen. Obviously, you have A, B, and C along the way if some little things kind of happen, but always plan for the worst, to the point where I feel like I'm like hindering my success because I'm like, well, what if, or the client, I'm talking to, and I'm like, you might not want to do that because this could happen. But definitely always think of like the worst thing that could happen, and then just make sure you know how to solve it in some way.
That makes a good planner.
Yeah. And also hopefully fixing disasters along the way. Okay. We have a little bit of time left in this segment. I'm going to end on a couple one, and then we're going to come back to our second episode of the Event Talk podcast. How do your professional worlds complement each other and complement your guys' skills together?
Ooh. That's a good question. I will say that because my husband is, obviously a local voice in the community, and face, obviously, personality, I've been able to secure a couple of speaking engagements for him. So I have a client that I do 4 or 5 events for every year, and she's always looking for a keynote speaker in one of her luncheons. And there was a time when her keynote speaker couldn't come to town or it fell through. And so she asked, does Eddie do public speaking? And I said, absolutely he does. And so, but at least 4 or 5 clients who retain me every year to plan their fundraiser. And so in planning their fundraisers, there's always a silent auction or a live auction or a raffle. And so if they're a sports Phoenix Suns fan, I'm always happy to, honey, sign this basketball. Sign this, my husband, he wears so many hats. Sign this book.
Yep,
so I'm always putting together packages that go well at these fundraisers. So for us, the compliment is real and true. We actually got to speak last Thursday at an event as called us a power couple, but just a couple in the community on behalf of Juneteenth. And I got
St. Vincent de Paul, right?
Yeah, St. Vincent de Paul, who the Phoenix Suns have been a longtime contributor, supporter of. And a group that I'm with, the Lynx, Phoenix chapter of the Lynx, we're also a big time supporter. And so they asked us to come and speak about what Juneteenth meant to us. And so, and then obviously we got to throw in a little bit about helping hands for single moms and other things we're doing, joyous events. So, we actually hugged after that, and we go, we make a pretty good couple. Almost 40 years in, you guys. Celebrate our 40th anniversary on July 6th after so. We're getting out of town here July 2nd after my last event of the summer. So.
Nice. I know. It's crazy. I just had my last event last week, but June and July are usually quiet, and I say that. But, you're still planning and doing everything else. But, it's crazy. Eddie, what about you? What in your life complements having Joy as your partner?
Well, please. I mean, I wouldn't be. First of all, she came in obviously at the almost the end of me reaching success as an athlete. Okay, well, I met her my senior year of college, and so that was always just solidified. That I would get a chance to go to the NBA, but the encouragement to be able to persevere. To be able to, focus and go after it. She pushed me in that way. And then obviously, I had to realize that my basketball could lead to something else. And she started to really, seriously, I mean, it became, it's not a nuisance, but you can just, that you can get irritated at times, but it's the best thing that's ever happened for me is that she'll correct me when I say something wrong.
You don't
And
say
it
anything
started,
wrong.
no, just in, vocabulary and just, all of that, which, for me, is like, okay, because I didn't know where I was going with this. And she saw it in me. And so I remember we first got to Sacramento. We had moved the team, obviously, the whole team had moved the franchise from Kansas City to Sacramento. And so when we got to Sacramento, it was just a lot of really public opportunities. We were always out because the community wanted to get to know us. And so we were always at events and different things. And believe it or not, at that time in my life, I didn't really say a ton. I didn't talk a ton. I didn't talk a lot at all. And I know
Hard to
people
believe,
like,
isn't it?
It's very hard to believe, knowing any
He
now.
was quiet when I met him. He was.
yeah, I would talk around people that I knew.
Yeah.
But when I was out in public, no. And at times I still don't, believe it or not. I kind of like, she has to remind me as we're driving somewhere to somebody's house, even now, make sure you got to be talkative. You're going to be talkative because that's just my time to like, kind of like go into this other character where I
Sure.
don't have to be, all rambunctious and all of that because I've always was doing that. But she got on me and I took it to heart. And then I accepted the criticisms, I accepted the corrections and all of that. And look what it's led to. I mean, it's led to me having a tremendous media career after I retired. It's like 25 years and going now. I never
Four
thought that
Emmys.
I would be doing
Woo
that.
woo.
Four
Nice.
Emmy.
Isn't that crazy?
Uh,
Emmys in the
so
NBA. I love it.
yeah. So if it wasn't for her really staying on me and just being critical and the
Honey, say
ones.
encouraging me. How about that? Say that. That's a better word than criticizing, staying on me. Okay, I'm correcting myself.
Encouraging and getting on me. Like coaches were critical of me. That's why I became good. So that's why I used that word. I don't look at it as a negative word. Cotton Fitzsimmons was my best coach ever, and trust me, I knew he loved me, but he was highly critical of me at times. He'd scream at me, he'd get on me, and in a way, it's kind of halfway embarrass you to really refocus you. I don't think anything's wrong with that. I've just grown up with that kind of encouragement and that kind of teaching. But she's right. She doesn't do it to that level, but still, that's something that I've learned to accept, even though, you're going to push back every now and then. It's no big deal there. But when I look back now on my career and what I've done and all the things, and so a lot of it I attribute to her, and that's what she carried over now into showing herself with her event planning, is now people see that. She's the voice of God in the back of the room,
Literally.
doing the events. And so it's just those things, right, that brought the synergy together for us. Because when we first met, I was just, just ragtag basketball player. Didn't know what he was going to do, in college as a senior, trying to figure out, what I was going to do with my life. Didn't know if I'd make the NBA and all of that. And, lo and behold, it's grown into this combination, where people want to hear both of us talk and make appearances at the same time. It takes a lot of work. That's nothing that you just come up with.
It's Very true. Very true. Well, that's, I think, a great end to our first segment with the Johnson family. So tune in next week, everybody. We are going to have part 2 of this and the duo. We have a couple more questions for Eddie along the way, and then we'll jump into kind of a couple questions like we just ended this podcast. But we're super excited to have you guys join us not only for 1, but 2 parts of the EventTalk podcast. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and tune in next week. Thanks for tuning into the EventTalk Podcast, hot mics, cold drinks, and untold disasters, where every event has a story. A big thank you to our guests for their laughs, stories, and lessons. If you loved this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your fellow event pros. Until next time.